लिए क्या प्रॉब्लम है? हम तो उसको सब पकड़ के लेके जाके नीचे खड़ा करके आ गए। क्यों? वो ये इस कलर से तो ब्लू कलर बेटर था। हाँ, कितना गंदा दिख रहा है वो। ये वाला टी शर्ट क्या हो रहा है? कॉलेज में जाके साइड में उससे देखो ये वाला कलर कितना अच्छा लग रहा है। इसके लिए तो 1125 दिया है। ओके, बड़े पीछे से okay, now what was the last topic that we were discussing? Control coordination. How much? Control coordination. We started with heredity. What was the last topic? Characteristics. We were only learning the definition. Done. ये सब important discussion कर लो. मेरे पास time है, no problem. I can wait. When the class is so noisy, how can I teach? What did we learn? Heredity. Some important terms we had come across. Did you understand those terms first? Heredity. Under this chapter, we are going to understand concept of transmission of characteristics. The other day, I discussed about the word gene. What is the definition of this word gene?
Functional segment of the DNA that encodes the
Function of what is the definition of gene?
Functional segment of DNA that encodes protein and regulates a specific character.
So if you all remember, what was the definition of the word gene? Gene is a part of the DNA that we had seen the other day. It is a small part. It's not close. क्यों? इतनी दोस्ती अच्छी नहीं लगती है मुझे. Part and understand. Now, when we are talking about the definition of this word gene, it is a small segment of the DNA. So I already the other day also we studied this way that if this is the double helical structure known as DNA and this particular ribbon-like structure known as DNA, we had studied that it is a small segment that we can consider as gene. So this is a small segment. I would understand what is this. This is a gene and we had defined gene is a small segment of the DNA. It is a functional segment of the DNA that codes for a protein. Meaning it has the information for a protein so that it can control a particular character. And if you remember, the other day we were talking about one or two examples of characters. I said, if a character I choose as hair color or height or eye color, that particular character is controlled by one specific gene. But what did I say the other day also, that if I talk about eye color as the character, does eye color exist in the human population in just one form? Not at all. So I said that eye color exists in 3 normal forms, and the 3 normal forms are what?
Brown, black,
black,
blue.
and blue. So what did I name these different forms as? No.
Traits.
What did I name these different forms as? The different forms of a character. What are the different forms of a character known as? The different forms of a character are known as traits. So, if this particular gene can regulate one character, and if this character has different forms, so we are also to understand that this gene also must be having different forms to regulate all these different types of character. Then what are the different forms of the gene known as alleles? Was this concept clear? And then after that we were talking about certain few more concepts on paired conditions of chromosomes. I think I had already discussed about certain terms like homozygous, heterozygous and all these concepts. Did I discuss about all that? Yes? Not at all? Only till here?
Yes.
So now when I talk about this particular condition, okay, then from here itself we start. So I again talk about one character. What is that character? Eye color. Eye color has different forms. What are these? Huh?
Attendant.
Now, what are the different forms of the eye color? What are the different forms of the character eye color? Brown, black, blue. And I say that the gene also must be having different forms to regulate the brown color, the black and the blue. If the gene is regulating one character and the character has forms, how can the same gene regulate all the forms? The gene also must be having different forms. Each form regulating one type of a trait. Understood? Now, how do we generally, in the concept of genetics, how do we generally designate this concept? I would say to designate, I would say this particular allele for brownness, let us take as blue, the capital B, for black, B and L, and B for small b for blue. Now, why am I selecting these letters? Because generally alleles and genes are written in letters or numbers only. Alleles and genes can only be written in numbers or letters. So I'm saying, what are alleles then? What is the specific definition? I think I asked you to write down the definition the other day. What is the definition of the word allele? Alternate forms of a gene. Alternate forms of a gene that regulate the same character. Different forms, no? Now let us come across certain pairs of chromosomes. Now I am talking about a single cell, and this single cell will have chromosomes. How will the chromosomes be? Chromosomes are always paired. Why the chromosomes are always paired? When I talk about this chromosome, I would understand that every chromosome that we have in our nucleus is in a paired condition. Meaning, this particular chromosome that I am talking about, one is the maternal chromosome and the other is the paternal chromosome, which paired up during the process of fertilization. In our cells, how many pairs of chromosomes we have got? How many pairs? 23 such type of pairs we have. Then, how do we write these pairs? In the form of sticks like this to designate. Now, to talk about the arrangement of these alleles and characters, how do we represent? I would say in this particular pair of chromosome, I would consider this is one gene. Again, gene is nothing but a segment of the chromosome, segment of the DNA. Now, this is one gene that I understand, and the same thing, this gene is regulating the eye color. But how will I write down the alleles and what are the different forms in which the alleles must be present? I talk about one pair where the alleles are arranged like this. I talk about one pair where the alleles are arranged in one particular format. What that would be, I would see that in one pair of chromosome, the alleles are like this. One is the maternal chromosome, one is the paternal chromosome, always to understand. So I'm talking about one situation like this. or one pair of chromosome in an individual like this. In another individual, I get to see that the condition is something like this. Different pairs of alleles, right? In the third individual, I come across the same character, but the pair of alleles are different.
Ma'am, can the pair of alleles can cause a chromosome disbalance?
That is the error. That is, of course, when we are talking about the type of the alleles are absolutely different. Two alleles of two different genes. Possible? No, it should not be. Alleles should be only of the same gene in one particular locus, in one particular chromosome pair. I talk about another condition where the pair is something like this. Let me just give you 5 conditions and you should be able to understand in all these 5 all the different possibilities I show you. So here I am talking about 5 individuals and maybe I am analyzing one particular pair of chromosome. And in this third chromosome of all these 5 individuals, I come to see is the arrangement of the alleles the same in all of their chromosome pairs? No. In different individuals, the pair of alleles are different. Now, try to understand what could be the eye color in different situations. Yeah, if this is the individual I come across, the eye color of this individual is brown. What about this side? Here also the eye color of this individual is brown. Why but? Here, never mind, I'm talking about that capital B is the allele responsible for the brownness. And both the chromosome has got the same allele. So undoubtedly the color has to be brown. But what about the second? In the second condition, one chromosome had the brown allele, the other chromosome had the black allele, but still the color of the eye of that individual is brown. What do we conclude? This type of an allele is more powerful than this type. And what are these type of conditions then known as? When the chromosome pair has 2 similar alleles, identical alleles. No, here the first condition, when the pair of chromosome has 2 identical alleles. What is this condition known as? This condition is known as the homozygous condition. When a pair of chromosome has 2 dissimilar alleles, 2 non-identical alleles for a gene. Non-identical, no, 2 contrasting alleles, no? 2 contrasting, these are the different terms used. 2 contrasting alleles or 2 dissimilar alleles. Then what is this condition known as? We will say this condition is known as heterozygous. Clear? Are you clear about the homozygous and heterozygous condition? Then what is the definition of homozygous? When the alleles are identical for a gene. This is a gene. This entire box that I draw is a gene, a segment of the chromosome it is. And in this segment of the chromosome I get to see are the alleles the same? Yes. And definitely the color of the eye is brown. What about the other side? Capital B there for allele for brownness is there, allele for blackness is there, but still the individual's eye color is brown. Then what do we conclude? The allele for brownness is more powerful than the allele for blackness. But then the situation is what? What type of a condition will you call this pair of chromosome as? Heterozygous. Alleles are different for a gene. Now tell me the third. What should it be? Homozygous or heterozygous?
Heterozygous.
Third is heterozygous. Now, in this condition, now that it is heterozygous a condition, what should be the eye color? Capital B I said for brown, small b I said for
Different, right? Who has
Brown.
depending on. We are always to find out of the 2 allele which is a powerful composition. So actually we are only talking about molecules. No, we are talking about chemical components here. Here I am saying that this particular allele, the allele for brownness is more powerful over blue. So what is the color of the eye? The color of the eye is brown. Now, one thing just try understanding. Whenever we are writing any allele, in small letter or lowercase alphabets that always talks about a less powerful allele. And what are these less powerful alleles known as? These are known as the recessive alleles. And the powerful alleles are known as the dominant alleles. So first of all, yes.
One is black or dominant.
Black, whenever I talk about, there is a sequence, a hierarchy of dominance always. So I would say when this and this together, this is powerful. When this and this together, this is powerful. There's a hierarchy, there's a sequence. I talk about for any type of a character. Now I have picked up a very simple example with only 3 alleles. If I pick up examples for the texture of the hair, skin color, where there are 27, 28 different types of alleles are there, and there's a sequence of dominance. When 1 and 2 there, 1 will express. When 2 and 5 there, 2 will express. When 3 and 6 there, 3 will express. Which combination is powerful? That will express. Okay. So first you understand, then any other concepts you will understand here. So here first I'm talking about what? 3 alleles. Out of this is more powerful and this is powerful than this one. Clear? So why am I saying that the color is brown here? Because this is a recessive allele. Now understand the terms. When I say recessive allele, it is a weaker allele. It's a weaker allele. To say in general, very simple concept. Weaker allele and this is a stronger allele. So majorly we would say this is a dominant allele and this is a recessive allele. Heterozygous condition. What about this now? Tell me. What should be the color of the eye? Black. And what is the condition? What is this type of a condition? This is also a heterozygous condition. Talk about the last one. What about the last? The eye color would be blue. And what is this type of a condition known as? This type of a condition is known as homozygous condition. But now, can you tell me what is the difference between this and this? The first and the last, में difference क्या है? कुछ difference है कि नहीं है? Brown hair, small hair.
It is formed by recessive allele, the
Recessive allele homozygous condition में. This is the dominant allele homozygous condition में. So we will write this is actually a dominant homozygous condition and this is actually a recessive homozygous condition. Understanding? So homozygous condition can be of 2 types. Either homozygous recessive हो सकता है या तो homozygous dominant हो सकता है. But heterozygous, ये भी heterozygous है. This is also heterozygous. This is also heterozygous. Heterozygous can be in different forms. आया ये समझ में? So we are talking about a concept of homozygous allele. What is the meaning of a homozygous allele? When in a pair of chromosome 2 alleles for a gene are non-identical. So what are the terms we are using? Alleles are non-identical. These are some words to remember. What is the meaning of a heterozygous condition? When 2 alleles of a gene are non-identical, they are dissimilar. और इसको क्या बोलेंगे? When 2 alleles of a gene are similar, identical. So what are the terms we use? We would say the alleles are similar, या तो alleles are identical. And heterozygous alleles are dissimilar, या alleles are non-identical. So alleles are dissimilar or alleles are non-identical. So this is for the heterozygous conditions, all of them. Till here clear? Now something more that we are talking about is that after understanding dominant and recessive, homozygous and heterozygous, these are the 2 pairs of terms I am talking about. Next, I say that the brown color of the eye, can we see in an individual? Yes, we can. But whether the person is brown with this type of a genotype or this type of a genotype, this type of a allele combination, can we understand? By looking at the person, can we understand whether the person has this type of an allele combination or this type of an allele combination or this type? No, we cannot. Can we? No. The brownness or the blackness or the blueness उतना ही हमें दिखाई देता है. So now when I talk about this brownness, what is this brownness known as? This brownness is known as the phenotype. And this allele pair that it is, this allele pair, I may write, how do I write down this allele pair? I can write down like this. What is this allele pair known as? This is known as the genotype. For example, let me just write some. If this is the combination allele pair, what do we write?
Genotype.
This is genotype when you just write down the letters. But what does it give rise to? What is the color?
Brown color.
The color is brown. So this brown or the black or the blue, what is this known as? This is known as the phenotype. So what is meant by genotype? The allele combination. The allele pair, the pair of alleles that is there for a gene, that is known as genotype. And that is always expressed like this in the form of letters. Always expressed in the form of letters. And these pair of alleles are always going to give rise to certain phenotype. That can be the color of the hair and the skin and the eye and the shape of the nose and the height and etc. etc. So that feature that we can see, that is what is known as the phenotype. So what is the definition of the word phenotype? Visual expression of a allele. Visual expression of a gene of a allele pair. Visual expression of a gene, that is what is known as phenotype.
And can you repeat the definition of genotype?
Genotype is the allelic combination, the allele pair for a gene. What is genotype? How do you define genotype? The allele pair or the allelic pair for a gene. What is the combination of the allele? That is what is the meaning. What is the combination of the allele? The combination of the allele, the pair of allele for a gene that is present in our pair of chromosomes, that is what is known as genotype. But because of that pair present, we exhibit different characteristics which we are able to see in each one of us. So that visual expression of that allele pair is what is known as the phenotype. Clear? So what are these pair of words? Before we start learning the laws of inheritance, this is what you have to remember. We have talked about what? What is meant by homozygous, heterozygous condition in pairs of chromosomes. Clear? Then we had understood in a pair of allele what is meant by a dominant allele and what is meant by a recessive allele. Clear? Then we had come across what is meant by genotype and what is meant by phenotype. Genotype we will always write in the form of some letter combinations. But this letter combination, letter means what? A pair of allele we are writing. And this pair of allele will always give rise to certain expressions. Kuch na kuch expression to hoga hi. That expression is what is known as the phenotype. Clear? Now, with these basic terms, now we have to understand the laws of inheritance. Any doubt till here? Clear? As we do the process and the laws, when there is a doubt, try to clarify. Now, the next concept that we are going to learn would be Mendel's laws of inheritance. We study Mendel's laws of inheritance now. Mendel's laws of inheritance, it is very, very easy provided you try understanding. You cannot memorize all these concepts. It's a basic understanding. You understand any type of a question you'll be able to solve. Now, when we are talking about the concept of Mendel's inheritance, the first theory that I would explain is Mendel, to talk about a famous biologist, Gregor Johann Mendel. Gregor Johann Mendel, who was he? He was, when you read your book also, you will come across Gregor Johann Mendel, a monk he was. He was a monk, and in his monastery he was observing variety of different type of plants, but one such type of plant known as the garden pea. One such type of plant known as the garden pea. You will have to remember the biological name of this plant? What is the biological name of this plant? VSH25, and you write it always like this under following the rules of nomenclature. Following the rules of nomenclature, I want you all to write this and remember during the exam to write this. Otherwise, half one mark may be deducted for wrong representation. So, what type of plants were the experimental plants? So, I was just mentioning that Gregor Johann Mendel was observing variety of plants in his monastery. But this was one type of a plant with which he started performing certain experiments because he was quite interested about the features that these plants exhibited. Generally, for any type of a plant, when we see generation and generation and generation of plants, they generally show the same type of features. Yes or no? The same type of leaf, the same type of seed, the same type of flower, the same height. But these type of plants, they were showing contrasting features at times in terms of the seed color, flower color, height, etc., etc. So, what were the reasons? What were the reason? You are asked question. What are the reasons for choosing these plants for the experiment? Why did Mendel select such plants for his experiments? The reasons for selecting such plants for his experiments. Number one, you'll have to write the lifespan of these plants. The lifespan is very short. The lifespan is very short. Can you tell me how short lifespan becomes a very good reason for experimenting with plants or animals?
Because there is an experimental
Short lifespan meaning, did we ever hear about experiments on the banyan tree? Or did you hear? Please tell me something about it. I've never heard about it. So now, when we are talking about experiments on banyan tree, no, almost never. Did we ever hear about experiments on the turtle and the tortoises? Never, because they have got long lifespan. So long lifespan means it is very difficult to see generations. And how will you understand what type of characteristics getting expressed, what type of characteristics getting suppressed? Not be able to understand that, no. So a plant or an animal with a shorter lifespan is always a very good experimental material, so that new generations and you will be able to see. You will be able to see what type of features are getting expressed and what type of features are not getting expressed. So lifespan of the pea plants were very short. Lifespan of the pea plants are very short. So that makes the pea plants a very good experimental material. Next is
that is Pisum.
Pisum sativum, sativum. And then lifespan is very short, and these plants were self-pollinating. These plants were self-pollinating. When I write these plants are self-pollinating, meaning from one particular plant, many plants can be obtained in a short period of time, no? Not dependent on other agents. But when breeding, cross-breeding to be done, they can be artificially also. So artificially cross-pollination also can be carried out. Artificially cross-pollination also can be carried out. And apart from that, one of the most important features is they exhibited 7 pairs of contrasting traits. Now that is the most important thing that we understand. They exhibited 7 pairs of contrasting traits. So that is the most important feature. Why Mendel selected the pea plants for his experiment. So this is the most important feature to understand. Now, 7 pairs of contrasting traits. What are those 7 pairs of contrasting traits? What are traits? 7 pairs of contrasting traits. What are traits? We learn different forms of a character. Okay. Now we are going to learn in the pea plants which were the different forms of characters and which were the traits that Mendel had selected. So we will talk about certain characters and their traits. You should have this list with you. There's a diagram even in your textbook which talks about all the 7. If you have the textbook here with you, you can check that out. There's a pair of characters, 7 pairs of characters are there. So let us talk about the characters and let us talk about the traits now. We talk about the characters and we talk about the traits. Let us start with this. The first character is height of the plant. The first character is height of the plant. So when I talk about height of the plant, what could be the different traits? Height of the plant, height can be tall or dwarf. Tall or dwarf. And how is tall designated? Capital T. And how is dwarf designated? Tall is designated this way and dwarf is designated this way. I already mentioned in the concept of genetics, one thing is very clear. The moment you get to see any letter written in capital or higher case alphabets, you always understand it is a dominant allele. And lowercase alphabets always are recessive allele. Okay. Now, this is the first pair that we are talking about. What is the second? Height of the plant. Height of the plant. So that is the first feature, the first character. Second is we talk about the color of flower. We talk about the color of the flower. Now to talk about the color of the flower, what are the different traits? One is purple, and purple we mark as like this, capital P, purple, and the contrasting trait would be white. Purple and white. Now again, learn one more concept. When we are talking about one particular trait, here check, purple I am writing as capital P, then white I should have written in small w, no? But we will always take the contrasting lowercase, opposite lowercase, letter we always have to take. Check this, we will never write w, small w not to write. We will always write, if the one parent we take capital P, the other one will have to take contrasting, we'll always have to take small t. Not go by white here. Third, shape of the seed. Shape of seed, the third character. What are the shapes? Contrasting traits, round. For round we write capital R. And for wrinkled we write, what should we write? Smaller. Yes. So just remember this way. Then we talk about color of the pod. Pod means the outer fleshy green leafy structure, the leafy cover of the pea seeds. No, all of you know the pea seeds. We are talking about the pea seeds. So the seeds are all arranged in a row, and outside there's a green fleshy cover. That is known as the color of the, that is known as the pod. The pod color yellow is, I'm sorry, the pod color green is the dominant. Pod color green is dominant and yellow is recessive. So we'll have to write small g for this. 5 is color of the seed. Color of seed. Color of seed, yellow is dominant, so we will write capital Y. And green is recessive, so we will write small y. Next, we talk about position of the flowers. We talk about position of flowers. Position of flowers, remember, in this type of plants, we come across that certain times we come across the flowers are somewhere like this. The flowers are somewhere like this arranged. And in certain time, we come across the flowers are all arranged. The stem would be all almost barren this side. And these are the flowers. And these are the flowers. And these are the flowers. So now, this is what is known as an axial arrangement. And this is what is known as a terminal arrangement. So, position of the flowers. One is axial, capital A, and terminal. When I talk about terminal, what should we write? Small a. The last one, We talk about shape of the pods. The shape of the pods. What about the pod shape? One is known as the fleshy green one that we get to see, that is known as inflated. That is known as inflated. And the papery dried one that we get, that is known as constricted. So if constricted is the recessive, how should I write constricted? Small I. Correct? So these are the 7 pairs of contrasting traits. Move about. Constantly you are talking. Move about. And you understand nothing. There you ask me a doubt on this topic. Now, when we are talking about this, is this clear? We are talking about character. Non-stop his mouth is working.
Ma'am, what do you mean by a wrinkle?
What did I tell you? What are the reasons for selection of these pea plants? What are the reasons for selection of the pea plants? Why did Mendel select the pea plants for his experiments? Why not any other plant? Lifespan what?
It's very short.
Lifespan? You are in the 10th standard. So you look like a 5th standard child, you are actually not in the 5th standard. If you want to do something reasonable in the exam, you have to first of all concentrate. So when we are talking about the characteristics, so these are the 7 pairs of characteristics that you have to remember. Now character, forms of character known as traits. Always remember, this set of traits that we write is always a dominant one. Check, all we are writing capital letters. The other side we are writing all small letters, lowercase alphabets, meaning these are all recessive. In your question paper, most of the time it is given, these words are given. The letters may or may not be given. So you now know if this word is there in the exam, in the paper, then what is that allele I choose? Which letter I choose? A I choose. And if I have to take this, then how do I choose? Should I write small t? No, I should write small a. Yes. Position of flower, this is what I said. In most of the flowers, most of the plant, what happens? There's a particular stem. And if this is the stem, the flower goes more or less no, at regular intervals. Here one, here one, here one, here one. If this is what it is, then this is what is known as axial arrangement. If this is what it is, then this is what is known as terminal arrangement. Understood? So this type of flower, generally again, I talk about one type of a plant. One type of plant will always show a similar type of an arrangement only. Hibiscus, if I talk about one particular example, we will never come across sometime this and sometime this. No, hibiscus always shows this type of an arrangement only. Or if I talk about some other type of a flower, they will only show this type of a plant, pea plants, and there are few plants like this, which shows remarkably contrasting traits from time to time. And that was the reason why Mendel selected these plants in the monastery, because they were showing some weird characteristics he felt at that time, some contrasting characteristics, some peculiar characteristics in the rest of the plants. So these plants attracted him and he started experimenting on them and he wanted to know many more features about them.
He experimented on the garden.
He experimented on other plants also, but the results that he obtained in such type of plants was quite remarkable, which could be set in the form of principles, and which is not only applicable for the bee plants, is also applicable. These rules that he had set is also applicable for human population also. Is also applicable for the developed animals, including human. We will learn now. Yes.
What do you mean by a wrinkled seed?
Wrinkled seed meaning when you are talking about the outer surface. Say suppose when we buy off the seed, most of the seeds will be having the outer surface, the seed coat, say suppose, the outer surface quite smooth. Smooth I should say. Smooth. But there will be few. In one handful I may get just 3 or 4 which will be having the outer surface. If I say the wrinkled seed, the seed will be something like this. The outer surface is little bit crumpled as it. But that's the natural way only it is. It is not that dried and hence like this. It is naturally only it is like this because of its genes, because of its alleles.
You said about the peak plant, it's important that the first generation will be axial and the second will be terminal and the third.
नहीं, these are contrasting plants.
तो alternate होता है या फिर
Alternate नहीं होता, abruptly हो रहा था. He had observed these type of plants abruptly.
दोनों टाइप हो रहे हैं.
हाँ, simultaneously कभी एक generation में ये हो रहा है, कभी दूसरे generation में mixed हो रहा है. कुछ plants इस तरह के हैं, कुछ plants उस तरह के भी हैं. So हाँ, ये काफी confusing था उनके लिए कि एक particular generation plants में दो तरह के plants कैसे आ रहा है. और कभी एक जनरेशन पे एक ही तरह का आ रहा है. जनरली एक जनरेशन पे एक ही तरह का आना चाहिए. So he felt that कभी in one particular generation one type of plants, for example, in one particular generation सारे purple flowers आ रहा है, and in the next generation 75% flowers purple आ रहा है, 25% plants white आ रहा है. तो ऐसे हो रहा था. So that made him quite inquisitive and he started experimenting more on these, and when he came across the results and which he formulated as principles, later was found out by many other biologists that it is not only for the pea plant, these rules are working for other plants, quite a number of other plants, and mostly for animals also, including human, the concept of glutaminism, etc., etc. Now, when we talk about the concept of these 7 pairs of contrasting traits, aaya samajh mein, and how we write down the chromosomes, if that is okay, now we move on to understand the laws of inheritance. What are the different laws? Question paper में एक law definitely रहेगा. 3 marks या 5 marks का. एक particular question तो रहेगा ही. अभी क्या करोगे, उसको सामने बुलाना. बातें करना है ना, पूरा बात कर रहा था. अच्छा, इससे बात कर रहे थे. पीछे देख रहा था ना. मैं सच्ची बोल रहा हूँ. मुझे आपका रिकॉर्डिंग देख रहा हूँ. ये पीछे देख रहा हूँ. Do you think I have that much of nonsense time to see the recording? अपना खुद का लेक्चर अब तक मैंने देखा नहीं. And I see yours. You be serious. Only that much I have to tell you. मैं बोल के मैं थक चुकी हूँ. This batch extremely talkative. Now, when we talk about, should I rub out all these? Now, ये याद नहीं करना है. I'm not saying that you will have to learn all these. ऐसे याद नहीं करना. ये करते करते याद आ ही जाएगा. 4-5 एग्जांपल्स करोगे तो ये समझ में आ जाएगा. वैसे आधा तो क्वेश्चन पेपर में ही रहता है. It's not that you have to memorize all this list. We talk about the law of dominance. What is the concept of law of dominance? The law of dominance, the basic concept here, and let me just talk about the experiment first. Mendel, how did he start with this experiment? He selected some tall plants and he started breeding them with some dwarf plants. तो अब जब first generation plants आया, सारा plants tall था. That was his first experiment. He took some tall plants and tried cross-pollinating them with dwarf, क्योंकि ये दो contrasting types थे at that time. So he took some tall, he crossed them with dwarf, and then he saw that all plants were tall. But it was, हाँ बोलो. तुम लोग जाओगे? परसों नहीं आओ, फ्राइडे को आओगे? फ्राइडे नहीं आएंगे. फ्राइडे नहीं. वेडनेसडे को भी नहीं है. कल जाओगे मतलब कहाँ जाओगे? इन लोग कैंप क्लास. This school and the camp are necessary Fridays for us. So happily, huh? Those days, yeah. Zabardasti, you all are so happy to jump and go for that. If you don't go. Where do you go? How many of you from that school? Oh, super. तो जाने अगर तो कैसे इंटरनेट मिलेगा?
वो सबकी देते हैं.
अब काटता कोई नहीं है. बस मैम नहीं बोलो क्या करते थे टारगेट
अभी आए पढ़ोगे CBSE.
that last year like almost 95
for the people went. The other rest of the 5 the teachers were always, asking them to submit their notebooks first, do their projects first, like they target them especially because they
तो जाओ सब लोग जाके घूम के आ जाओ, पढ़ाई तो 4 दिन भूल जाओ और क्या। 25,000 देना है बेटा।
अच्छा 2000
और वो 10 मार्क्स ही है इंटरनल्स।
but they don't give it according to that. और जो बोलते हैं कि 60 मार्क्स टीचर के हाथ में होता है।
किसमें? बोर्ड्स के सीबीएसई में।
हाँ इंटरनल्स के कुछ तो 60 होना सब बोला भाई आज हमने सबको
ओके 80 मार्क का तो पेपर होता है। 80 मार्क का थ्योरी पेपर तो तुम्हें लिखते हो।
सारे मिला के
60 It's okay. Your parents will be in a better position to decide. Now चलो हो गया। ट्रिप नहीं जाना है, पढ़ाई करना है।
हाँ नहीं जाओगे।
अच्छा। Now when we are talking about this, yeah, who was asking me a question? Huh?
I was asking that you said that when a tall and a dog when caused the tall will speed
Expressed.
is it necessary that always the tall will be
हाँ तो यही तो मेंटल को भी confusion था कि when a tall plant and a dwarf plant is crossed, so he thought that some plants should be tall and some plants should be dwarf. That is what he thought. Because two type of traits are crossed. Some plants should have this trait and some plants should have this trait. But this, in the first generation, it was found that all the plants were tall. Then he thought, he tried with another pair of traits. Answer was always the same. Axial flower, terminal flower को cross किया, all plants were axial. Round seeds or wrinkle seeds को cross किया, all were round. Then he understood that there must be some process, some principle, something must be working there. And later it was understood, much later. At that time, he was calling all these concepts as traits ko, he was considering them as factors. And he said, wait, 2 minutes, wait. And he said that when two contrasting parents with two factors are crossed, how is it possible that the first generation plants are having only one factor? And he was not able to understand ये particular factor यहाँ पे गया कहाँ. Later it was understood that looking to the alleles and the gene concept, which was understood much later, it was understood that these type of plants must be having a combination of allele like this. This type of a plant must be having a combination of allele like this. So definitely this chromosome and this chromosome come together. And now this is the powerful, that's why this is expressing, this is the weaker, that's why it is not expressing.
टर्मिनल हमेशा recessive ही रहेगा।
टर्मिनल कहाँ पे?
नहीं वो shape of
हाँ नहीं वो हो गया टर्मिनल कौन सा? Axial and terminal. तो टर्मिनल कब एक्सप्रेस होगा? Only when it is in a no terminal I say axial है तो terminal ऐसा होगा तो ही the plant will be terminal.
हमेशा recessive होगा।
हमेशा recessive. तो there is nothing that कभी ये recessively dominant हो भी सकता है. No, वो standard है. जो allele dominant है वो dominant ही है. जो allele recessive है वो recessive है.
like I've seen a few people that they have their parents are different types but they inherit that like grandparents.
yes ma'am like
Possible.
both parents are short but like
Possible because they are all in those heterozygous conditions.
must have better
The parent must be heterozygous for tallness. So now this child either gets, अब ऐसा भी होता है कि parents are tall, the child is very short, and parents are short and the child is comparatively taller. तो ये because the parents were heterozygous, वो combinations हम सीखेंगे. Eye color में कैसे ये combination होता है, height, etc. etc. So we will continue again with this the next class. सर को रिक्वेस्ट किया है जो बच्चे अगर तुम लोग यहाँ से गायब हुए और क्या नहीं गए
हम सब याद है तो चल रही तो दूसरे वाले में जाने हैं दूसरे वाले खाई अच्छा मैं तो कुछ कलर में जा रहा हूँ दूसरे वाले में जा रहा हूँ नहीं मेरे बैठ के
नहीं नहीं जा
चलो
सामने बैठ के बोला ना अरे बैठने बोला छोड़ना
खड़े होके बैठ
अरे
Okay, so if I'm not a girl.
Bye.